All right, so we're gonna see exactly what Charlie Kirk had to say before he died. His ideology, so to speak, and how he operates. This is past his advertisement, so don't question the banana. But I'm gonna break down his white supremacist ideology, his understanding of reality, how he uses tokenism, how he uses a lot of these victimhood in order to protect himself from racial accusations. So should be good.
Less lethal launcher looks like, visit Berna.com.
How we doing, Boise State? Woo. A lot of energy today. Great to see you guys. You know how it works? I'm out of breath after that. If you disagree, go to the front of the line. Are we at elevation or something? My goodness. You disagree, go to the front of the line. We'll have a great chat. And great to be here at Boise State University. Go Broncos, everybody. First question coming up.
Charlie. If you were 5 inches in Elon Musk and Trump was 5 inches in you, which way are you moving? Which way are you moving, Charlie?
Is that your question?
You see how like a lot of these people are clearly like not there all mentally and they think they did some heat. I feel like those have to be handouts for Charlie. That's all I'm saying.
That is my question. If you were 5 inches in Elon Musk and Trump was 5 inches you, which way are you moving?
Thank you for your question.
Which way? These are the pressing matters we want to know answers to, Charlie.
You waited in line to ask that question.
All right. You, Charlie.
And they wonder why they lost the popular vote in November, right? They have these looking things coming up on skateboards. What is it, Charlie? You see, I got another super fan right there. You want to come up here? No, you're too afraid? Got it. Okay, next question. Is that, we got another, that's a sign of endearment in most cultures. Come on up.
You got something to say it.
Oh, come on up.
So why do you care so much about other individuals living their lives? Why is it affecting you? Do you have something up your ass or something?
Well, I could throw that right.
Okay, so like what is up with the leftist and the ass thing? Like the last guy's asking which way you'll turn for your ass, this one's asking what's up your ass. I can't help but wonder if the leftists have ran out of scholars and people who actually know what they're talking about, and they're just throwing people that just say the dumbest things possible so they can go back to their yes bubbles and feel better in their echo chamber. And that's why a lot of like right wingers who are borderline like barely mentally awake feel so intelligent because they show this instead of like actual qualified people. Like this university does not actually have smart people there. They have people who put like a piece of paper with the letter A on it and they think that's good. And they did like a really good interview by doing customer service voice. It blows my mind away that there are people that on the left that act like this and think they really cooked on this one.
Right back at you. Why do you care so much about what I have to say?
Because you're affecting other people's rights. You're taking away people's choices. You are hurting people. Read the Constitution.
What rights am I taking away exactly?
You're trying to take away gender-affirming care for individuals. You are affecting abortion rights. You are hurting people.
Got it. So what is a woman?
What is a woman? It's what people identify as, is a gender. Sex is different. Sex is different from gender.
So can anyone be a woman?
Yes.
At what point do you know you're looking at a woman?
Doesn't matter when you are looking at a woman. You don't have to look at a woman and immediately tell. Can you tell looking at a baby what gender they are without looking at their privates? Tell me that.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. What about that baby is different?
But hold on. By the time they're 6 months old, you can actually tell a young boy tends to gravitate more towards balls and remotes.
That's because it's gender affirming. That is convincing individuals at a young age. You are socializing, putting them in situations where they want certain different things. Let's look at... Thank you. So, let's say you were a little kid and your parents taught you to like pink. Let's actually look back in time. Pink actually used to be a male color instead of blue. In what world? Actually, in the 1920s.
So you say that I'm here to take people's rights away.
Yes.
That is your main contention.
Yes, because
Right.
you are affecting the LGBT. You are affecting women's rights. If I was pregnant, oh wait, let's go back to this. Abortion is anything. If I had a cyst on my uterus, that would be considered an abortion. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Look at,
That-
okay, anything that is evolving the uterus,
Well, no. In order for it to be an abortion, it must be a human life.
no. Anything that is
yes.
evolving the uterus and you have to get rid of it, it is considered abortion.
No, that's
Yes,
not how
it
that's
is.
not how it works. So again, you say I'm here to take rights away.
Yes.
Do you agree life is a right?
I feel like if it's a clump of cells, then it's not alive.
No. But let's go back. Do you think every human being has a right to life?
Depending on how many weeks, but let's.
So wait, hold on. Who's trying to take rights away? I want to protect the rights of all human beings. You call them a clump of cells. Who's trying to take rights away? Exactly.
So when is it a
So he plays a good example here. I have heard a lot of people use excuses for attempted murder, saying that post-birth abortion. They also encourage like mental illness on the left a lot, which is why a lot of them are depressed. They say you should have been aborted, or you are a mistake, or shouldn't have existed, is because they put a lot of themselves down and push themselves down repeatedly. And that's like one of the issues the left has, is that a lot of them hate themselves and hate each other, and so they infight all the time. You can tell by the entitlement a lot of them have. They stay in these echo chambers they call safe spaces in order to secure themselves as intellectuals. But if you actually start to really understand how they operate, why they operate the way they do, there's a big issue that no one's able to reach a conclusion because they just want to talk over one another or tell each other what the truth is in order to create some fake fallacy that they can live in, when reality is clearly what we're fighting, because the conservative and the capitalists are winning in accordance to what they deem as just like scientifically founded evidence and data, which is why him saying, do you believe human rights deserve to exist or human beings deserve to exist, is a notion to where he's saying you deserve to die because someone at one point will decide to abort you, then you don't have the right to any of the rights of which you are enacting, because if you refuse to let someone exist in the first place, then somebody later on trying to enact the rights that person could change or give is invalidated by the fact that you want to take away all their rights in accordance to making sure they don't exist. So if someone cries for help for like depression or something, and they say, I wish I was aborted, which is a call to I wish I killed myself, they would overlook that and be like, you know what, you're right. I hope somebody does make sure people like you don't exist. And they think that's like encouragement on the left when they're hypnotizing themselves to be more depressed and sad. And because of that, a lot of the right wingers can clearly see that the left, it looks like a very mentally ill, broken down mentality, which over time takes away the credibility of their claims, and which is why they stay in a lot of this victimhood, because it's the only currency they have. The left has this issue, of course, because they don't allow actual conversation or actual intellectual discussion, which is one of the main issues why he's able to pull one of these, let's talk about rights. Oh, you don't want a person to exist, so all the rights above life, that is from the beginning, from the fetus, is now voided, which of course can be re-navigated with the ideology of what he defends actually raped babies into existence, because a raped child is still a human being separate from the rape, and so the rapists themselves doesn't deserve to own that person like a separate entity, a continuation of themselves, because that would be eugenics, and that child could grow up and be a rapist is a perception of a bunch of eugenicists. So he believes that raped person, it has the child, that child has a free independent life and is a normal human being, isn't a rapist, isn't a monster, and has the right to continue to exist and live free, which is why the identity of understanding abortion is that if someone aborted you or someone you love, then you would be in creating an environment where someone like you or me could never exist, because I was told I was a mistake, and everyone laughs at that because they think it's hilarious to mock people's existence, mock people's family. But if you do it back to them, it's bigoted, it's racist, it's evil. So the hypocrisy is what he's addressing here. And I just really wanted to point that out because, again, putting forward a pro-abortion world, I noticed talking to a lot of those people, I am pro-abortion until I talk to the people who are pro-abortion, and they seem like pedophiles who want to kill children and like murder human beings. And they don't sound mentally sane, because the people I know that are pro-abortion, it's just like, oh, I'm not ready for a child and I don't have the finances for it. But they find these like people who are like shouting and screaming and like he puts them in these logical corners where they can't explain themselves other than, no, let's murder children. And then he uses that to push forward with his idea that you're just a psychopath and you're like mentally unwell. And therefore he puts the morality above you. Even though you have a valid point, her body, her choice, which I agree, he puts you in a position to where now you are discussing the complete extermination of human beings, the extermination of human rights, and he'll put you in a spot to where you'll have to talk about why you want to exterminate every human being and all their rights, which sounds completely ridiculous, which it is, but he perpetually pushes that continuously. And I run into a lot of these mentally ill people that are on the left, and it's one of the reasons why I believe in these mental health crises centers. I believe in abortion rights, I believe in homeless shelters and getting people housing. I believe in getting people jobs, because when you run into these mentally ill leftists, a lot of these mentally ill leftists will try to make you homeless, they'll cancel you, they'll try to destroy your careers, because a lot of them just prove the narrative that you shouldn't like leftism at all, which is unfortunate because they just want attention and power. But the people within the organizations that actually start it and actually push for these ideas, like I tried to push, we're more intelligent than this example here, is what I'm trying to say. People like Charlie cannot corner people like me, because when I discussed with him, he had to do a lot of how do you say tricks in order to make it sound bad. But he is anti-evolution as well, so he doesn't believe in evolution, he believes in the magical existence, he doesn't actually believe in science, he believes in science's elaboration on religion, but he leaves that up to debate because he still fears the risk of like a magic god. So he's a little bit out there with his beliefs, and he still believes in the concepts of mathematics. So if you exist at this point, but at this point we're discussing, the future is at stake if the past disagrees. So if you start enacting abortions, then the subtractive sum of the future equation will disappear, and then you'll move forward in that environment. And therefore, someone, no matter how great they are, should they exist because someone decided not to get the abortion, then he thinks that's a beautiful proof as to why abortion should never happen. And if you start to understand that mindset, you'll understand that the people who are pro-abortion are essentially like they look very sick in the head, because you can see a bunch of people out there and you'll never know their past history, you'll never know their understanding, but someone like me would never exist to begin with. And if people celebrate that, you need to understand that mentality is terrible, because it encourages lynch mobbing or KKK white supremacy tactics that will evolve on the left-wing side without them realizing. And this is what they try to encourage, is that the right wing is the merciful and progressive side, while the left wing is too unintelligent and cruel and savage to be able to understand why you're mocking a person's life and existence is a bad thing. Which is why a lot of leftists look very gross, disgusting, and very blood hungry and mentally unwell. So he would fight a lot of these people a lot of the times, because if you understand how sadistic leftism can be, or socialism can be, you see a lot of the reasons why a lot of people hate communism, when they execute people en masse just for disagreeing with them, or kill people because they think they're a threat to the revolution, which is what he's trying to play off of. Again, leftists have a lot of issues, a lot of infighting, because they don't believe in a solidified intelligence circle. They believe in obeying Republicans and begging them for money, begging for donations, multi-billion-dollar foundations that got nothing done, and they all got houses and cars and riches, and they all helped their like boy toys and girlfriends out in their little like housing areas, and they all got rich and they feel like champagne socialists. So we have a big issue on the left where there's a lot of Republicans who pretty much pretend to be leftists, and they just become the champagne socialists that'll utilize all their money to get ahead. So this again, he's proving that again, but replace champagne socialism with the money aspect with bloodlust. So now the right wing looks merciful, loving. You all deserve to live. You all deserve a life. You all deserve to exist. And then he takes away the leftist talking points of housing, healthcare, and anything else of the sort, like food, and then tries to say he's even better than you, because even though you're fighting for those social rights, you would rob them of even accessing those social rights by killing that person in the womb. So it's an understanding of like mathematics. If you kill the beginning, nothing after matters, because you erase the equation later.
Human being in your mind. When is it a human being in your mind?
Well, it's not even on my mind. Human development objectively begins at conception.
At conception. So even if I had a miscarriage, what are you going to say about that?
It's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy?
Yes.
Okay, then let's talk about, like, what if it's affecting the woman or anybody who is pregnant in this situation? What if they're going to die and they have to get an abortion? That's the only way they're going to live. Are they going to be over?
Well, hold on. Just so we're clear, that's only a couple thousand cases a year.
No.
And so, yes, it is.
Have you seen
But-
how many individuals have already
But-
died because they haven't been
but
able to get abortion
abortion
care?
in the life of the mother can be put aside as something that needs to be considered. However, it's not always necessary. But let's talk about the main thing, because there's over 1.5 million abortions every single year that don't involve rape, incest, or life of the mother.
Yeah,
1.5 million.
Yes,
But let's just ask you a very simple question. When does human life begin?
When does human life, in my personal opinion, is going to start around the second trimester, a little more farther along. But let's get to this. Most individuals that are having abortions are going to be mothers that cannot afford it. They usually have already 2 to 3 kids and a lot of time.
So it's acceptable to be able to murder your young if all of a sudden you don't have the money to support them. That you can murder your offspring if you're poor.
So in the first couple weeks, even though it's still not fully developed, doesn't even have a heartbeat, doesn't even have brain
Development
activity.
does not equal dignity. A human being is a human being regardless of the process of development that it is in. Period. And so who's trying to take rights away? I actually want more human beings to
Then
be
why
born.
are you affecting LGBT?
Well, hold on. We're talking. Let me finish on abortion. I want more human lives, which, by the way, hilariously, would be more women would be born, because the right to life is paramount. You're trying to take rights away because you're okay with the massacring of little humans. Back to LGBT.
It's been going throughout history, though. Abortion has been a big thing for
yeah.
a long time, and it affects people, and it hurts people.
So has murder and slavery and child sacrifice.
That is completely different.
No, it is murder. Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Define what is murder.
What is murder? Are you going to be talking about first-degree murder, like homicide, like going and having the intent to kill? Having the intent to kill somebody, but
Wait, hold on.
just saying
So
a clump
human
of
being,
cells
right?
is, yeah, but a clump of cells
Well,
is different.
hold on, time out. If it's a clump of cells, what species is it?
What species is
Yes.
it?
What species?
It depends. Whatever's going to be pregnant, whatever you're trying to abort.
Is it a Homo sapien, a crocodile, or a raccoon? Which one is it? What
We're
species is it?
Homo sapiens
Oh,
in this
wait,
sense,
so
I'm
if it's a
hoping.
human clump of cells, then it's a human life deserving of human rights. And the first right is life. And so you could call it a clump of cells, which is dehumanizing language, but I'll go back to this. Ironically, you're the one that is actually intruding on human rights. We're the one protecting human rights.
But you're
which
trying
again,
to get rid of the option so people can have rights to their own body.
Hold
if
on,
someone does
time
not want
out.
to have a child, they should not be forced to.
If the-
Oh, wait. If we're going to be doing this, then what are you going to do about the children in the systems that have been being assaulted, that are being hurted? Put more money into the system so people can actually get adopted, or actually other things like that.
Okay, again, none of that is relevant.
No,
to
because
the,
you want more
no.
babies to be born. What about people that can't afford
Again,
them? They have to go into systems.
How many people are on the adoption waiting list?
Yeah, want to know how many kids actually get adopted?
2
How many
million
kids
people-
that go
2
into
million
systems
people
or are being
are on the
fostered,
adoption
that get
waiting
assaulted,
list.
that get hurt? Are you going to be helping those
Two-
children that get
well,
f***ed over by
okay.
this system?
So there are 2 million people on the adoption waiting list. There are 1 million abortions every year. There are
Okay.
twice as many people that want to adopt than discarded children every single year. Now, I have to go back to a fundamental question, though,
Okay.
which I think is very important. Human development objectively begins at conception. You say it's around 2 trimesters. Can we agree that every human being, once your DNA is formed, you should have the right to life, the right to live the life the way you want to live it? Can we agree on that?
How many weeks are we saying?
No, I say again. Once we
So-
can.
Okay, he got an easy target. There's no way that the way he gets these people. I swear he finds them on a farm just specifically to be the most outrageous leftist I've ever seen. He gets so lucky finding these people. Like, it's insane. She sounds like a very snobby, uptight person. I don't know how to deal with people like that. I'm used to talking intellectually with people. So when we have this conversation, I wouldn't expect someone to scream at me. So I can see his entertainment in talking with this person because he gets them riled up by talking very basic facts that none of them can get through because they're just too simple of a human. And he takes advantage of that. I don't know how else to describe it, but She's like such a perfect example of what leftism is scared to see. Is a bunch of people with like a knitted rainbow shirt and then super short shorts and then going around screaming at people like they know more, but they lose the first argument to a white guy with a receding hairline, and they're just terrified that the conservative movement as a whole will just conquer because of women who think they know what they're talking about, because the men they've been with have just told them everything they wanted to hear and lied to them the whole time just to get with them. Genuinely scared of that as the future of leftism, because leftists have gone like their intellectuals are going less and less and less and less and less. And I think it's genuinely a brain drain where people are just tired of leftists and they're lying and they're just pure lying, to where they never had a true intellectual actually try and discuss with them. I believe people like this are taking up a lot of college spaces where there should have been a lot more people of color there, probably intellectual people of color. And I think this is why a lot of white people get angry, because a lot of the right wingers are very scientific because they had to dissect a lot of the leftist talking points their whole life. And then the leftists themselves never got dissected once because they think that's like a creepy way to say the word dissect, or that's like weird how you want to question something that's just morally always good in their opinion. And I believe that's like a huge issue. Like we have a very serious issue on the left where we don't let people discuss what's happening. And because of that, you have a bunch of entitled white people who think they know more than everyone else, and they talk down on black and brown people with such confidence that the only people they respect are the ones that talk like a kiosk white supremacist, like whitewashed black guy or brown guy who just says anything that sounds nice and has like really clean demeanor and then makes people feel good because they speak nice to them and don't hurt people's feelings. I think that's just the purest form of ignorance humanity has ever created in our existence. I truly do fear that we're just gonna have a bunch of slaves and tokens on the left, and we're not gonna have anyone that actually is respectable. Because on the right wing, it's the only place where you have freedom of speech to actually discuss science and scientific discussion there. The left is running out of space. It's like disappearing quick, and there's no real room left, because you can't just say that's not true when we have someone that arguably is the leftist group, which none of them are convicted of rape, versus a guy who was convicted of rape and still got elected. So like compare those two situations, right? If you're so unlikable and just gross that people are going from the left to the right wing, even though the guy leader is a rapist, maybe it's the left that's the issue, right? Because maybe the left is driving people crazy. Maybe the people who aren't racist now are running to the right wing, which is an issue because you don't allow actual intellectual discussion. You don't allow people to discuss in an intelligible way. So I think it's funny that he immediately showed her that people want to adopt, so aborting someone isn't bad because you gain access to somebody who's going to take care of that child, and those resources you're worried about, are you going to take care of them, is something they don't have to worry about because people just want to adopt children anyway. So scientifically speaking, he resourced the people or that didn't want the kids, and they still got taken care of. So he addressed it mathematically. He addressed it scientifically. Her response should have been something of the sort of what kind of quality of life will they have when they grow up, and maybe add on to that, like after 18, what kind of human would they be? Would they go homeless? Would you care they went homeless, or would they suddenly be seen as people who deserve to die, who deserve to be Darwined? Take advantage of maybe the leftist perspective on how all of them are full of it. You have multimillionaires in charge, and if any of them ran into like a super hyper intellectual human being, they would abandon the human being because they're none of them actually care for human life after 18. And the left is the one that doesn't care, right? Or maybe that their circles are suspiciously white in the center, or that they do stuff that like makes them feel better rather than actually mathematically addressing the homeless crisis. They don't actually get worker unions to work together because they take all the money, put it into their pockets. So then those people that you don't abort, your people you abandon. Like actually address this from a perspective of science. And I believe that the left will fall apart very quickly. I do believe in what some people would call communism, which is not socialist democrats, SOCDEM. The SOCDEM are people who kill communists. And that's because the SOCDEM likes keeping people dumb. And they keep people so dumb that when anyone tries to question them, they try to literally kill you, which is the part of the ideology I don't like, because the left is pretty much like an empty carcass. and there's no one there with true intellectual capability, which is why a lot of these people fear communism, because communism is actual intellectual capabilities, which usually relies on a lot of conservative talking points in order to enact a lot of the communistic principles, which require discipline that no one in the SOCDEM, liberal sphere or Democrat sphere can actually encapsulate, because they're too busy manipulating white liberals whose feelings are offended, and therefore they want to encapsulate the idea of just controlling the dumbest people in society. So if a black person calls them racist or gross, they would just get their own black person to defend themselves with. So general idea of how they would work.
Like once the sperm is inside the egg?
Correct. Yeah.
No.
Well,
once the sperm is inside the egg in the first like couple of days? No.
Well, okay, but let's go through that. Isn't that when your DNA was formed?
Yeah.
But then aren't you fundamentally at its core, you are the DNA is your blueprint for your life. That's who you are. It's a unique marker.
It's my DNA, yeah.
Yes. So if it's not your DNA, why is it your choice?
Why is it my choice?
Yes. If it's not your DNA, why do you have a choice to eliminate it?
It's up to the individual that is having them inside of it.
Oh, okay.
It's their body. I don't care if it is like a few weeks, because that is not a human being's life yet. Because
outside of rape,
that individual cannot survive without the mother or who is ever pregnant. Therefore,
again, so let's get down to this, because I think it's very important and a good way to end this question, which is outside of rape, how did the woman get pregnant?
Outside of rape, so we're not going to be talking about incest or other individuals like that, because incest is not only just rape or other situations.
How about if I say?
Let's talk about how eggs that get mixed up in
How about if I
that?
say I'm okay with abortion for rape, incest, and life of the mother? Let's make it illegal in the other circumstances. Would you agree?
How are we going to be able to term that all the time, though? Because what if it wasn't consensual? What if the individual was drunk, but they're married? Let's say they're married and they got raped.
You can get a rape. Again, you keep on interrupting me, but you can report rape as a crime. You can also do a blood test to find out if it's incest. But 99.9% of all abortions are not rape and not incest and not life of the mother. How did that woman get pregnant in those situations? Did she just walk through campus and it just appeared and all of a sudden a baby is in her uterus? Or did she do something to decide to potentially have a child?
Sex. But also contraceptives sometimes don't always work.
So, but hold on a second. Shouldn't you take responsibility for your orgasms?
I don't think most men can make me come. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, okay. Well, again, outside of that statement, I'm not even sure how to take that, to be honest.
You brought up orgasms.
Okay. Shouldn't you take responsibility for the sex that you have?
I mean, if I was wanting to have a child and my contraceptives, I didn't use any contraceptives, and I wanted to get pregnant, sure, I'm taking responsibility for that life because I wanted that life. But let's say I was having sex and my contraceptives didn't work and I got the chance of getting pregnant. I am not having that child.
You still have sex. But you still decided to have sex.
Yeah.
And again, our opinion, when you go and decide, having sex is not something you need to survive. It's not like showering or eating or shelter. You can live without having sex. You can have a little bit of self-control. If you decide to go have sex, you should understand you play certain games, you win certain prizes, which might be another human life. And it is the most...
I don't want to have another child, though.
Hold on a second. Then don't go have sex.
No.
Oh, so you understand how narcissistic that is, that I want to keep on having fun, and if I have a human being and oopsie daisy, I'm going to eliminate that other human being because I don't want to have the human being, but I want to keep on having free sex. How is that not the most narcissistic worldview that one can possibly espouse?
It's narcissistic that I want to have sex with another consenting individual just because I don't want to have children. I feel like a lot of people in the world have sex. I think a lot of people make money off of having sex, and they don't want to have children. I feel like it is something that everybody do. A lot of people have sex just for pleasure.
Just because a lot of people do it does not make it right, number one. Number two, again, fundamentally, your view is I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and if it creates another human being, so be it. Sure.
Do you have sex just to have a baby every single time then? Or are you
Well,
doing it for pleasure?
I am married and we have 2 kids, so
Yeah,
we're pretty
but
good at
are
it.
you
So,
having?
like,
I'm assuming that you have had sex more than twice in your life,
again,
not
I'm
just
not
to
gonna
have
like
the babies.
give you an inside look into my sex life, but
But you're doing it for pleasure, not just to have kids.
well, again, we actually always do it with God's trust that if we get kids, it's a blessing, okay? And we do it in the marital context. Again,
You also are in a position where you can afford to have children. You
well,
are in a position
again,
where you
so
are not the lower class.
How about this? How about we have the maturity and the sophistication? Again, you keep on using words children and baby. Let me ask you a question. When someone is celebrating a pregnancy, do they call it a clump of cell shower or a baby shower?
That's also when it's already been past those weeks.
Oh, so it magically gets pixie dust. You're a human being now.
No, because it develops.
Oh, exactly, because it's all around the spectrum of human development, and human development starts at conception.
Yeah, is it going to be completely developed at the first week? No. So
You're not completely developed right now. A lot of people
I'm
aren't
not gonna be
completely
complete.
developed. I mean,
Where you're never going to be
but I
completely
mean that.
developed.
It's like you are not completely developed at age 30 or 40. The spectrum of human development keeps on going when you go deep and deep into your life.
Okay, this is one that I never want to debate about. So what he's discussing is the equation of human life as a whole. So if you have to start 2 plus 2 equals 4, the fetus and the conception, the sperm entering the egg is 2, and then you plus the 2 in order to equal to 4. If you try to subtract the 2, then you have 2 equals 4 doesn't make sense, and therefore it's just 2. There's no equal, there's no additive, it's just 2. It takes 2 to tango. So when you add 2 together, you create the end sum, which is a human being is the end sum. Man, woman, and some human being. When you remove the concept of accepting the two as a whole human being, which is the conceptualization of the sperm and the egg, then you remove the concept of the equation to create a human. And therefore, the equation of the human comes from the enactment of the beginning of that equation of it being added together, which is the plus, in order to reach an end sum goal of a human being. There is no concept of no human being or no end sum if you never create the equals afterward. If you create no equals afterward, you added a whole new equation, which is subtracting the equation of humanity, which is the human being gets removed entirely. So therefore, 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. It's 2 plus 2 minus 4, which is the minus 4 is the abortion, equals 0 human. So therefore, the 4 would be the additive of the X chromosome and the Y chromosome to create a mixture of the human, and therefore you mix it into the correlated end result, which would result in the human being's equation. This human being equation is the concept of an ideology that humans deserve to be respected, so much so that the second you have your equation presented into life itself, you must respect the continuation of the mathematics of that trajectoried human. Because if that human was always meant to exist 20 years from now, and you subtract them, the butterfly effect of that human's existence, like someone's husband, someone's wife, someone's future daughter, son, if they're adopted, is eliminated immediately. And therefore, you would have to look that person in the eyes and tell them at one point, if someone wanted to abort you, you are an abomination to existence because you took someone's right away from them to eliminate your entire life. And so this equation of life itself, this humanity that is robbed of a person, is something that a lot of people argue, because if you look into the actual equation, I shouldn't exist. And there are people out there that will celebrate that I am someone that they want to kill and hurt. And then you're going to have to start to understand their intent, because they want nothing more than not just a woman's body, their choice, but to end the equation of 20 years from now, there's a human being that they want to kill. And because they can't kill that human being, they hoped that the original equation that began at conception was eliminated from that whole existence to begin with. So you look into the intent of these people, you look into the actual feeling they have, and they don't want humans to exist from the consequence of what they deem a mathematical genius would dictate that if you are in love with someone, pick the person you love wisely. And if you pick someone you don't love, then that's a reflection of you. And since you're a bad person and they are a bad person, that enactment of a human life should be in existence of your two equations, regardless of whether or not people believe you should reproduce, because the person that comes out of those two bad people can be one of the greatest people that ever existed. I, for one, had a terrible family, terrible mom, terrible father, but I came out as a good human being. Some people would laugh at that. Why? Because they want me dead. So the concept is pretty simple. They don't want human beings that they see as counter to their opinion politically alive. They don't want people to exist that have a different discussion than them to be alive. And they don't want anyone that supports that lifestyle or culture to be alive to begin with, which is an exterminationist ideology in order to eliminate the equation at all to begin with so that human life can never start. Therefore, they want to eliminate life. That's why it's exterminationist, it's genocidal, and it's crazy.
The question is the most important question. When does that journey begin? That journey begin. Like, when did your process of development begin?
My process of development?
Yes. Yeah. At conception. Every person in this audience, your life started at conception. And your own DNA, from your eye color to your hair color to your height, from your likes and your dislikes, whether you're an introvert, you're an extrovert, all of that was coded into your deoxyribonucleic acid at the moment that you were a zygote. And so that human deserves constitutional and human rights. And again, you came up here with the accusation saying, I am here taking away people's rights.
You are.
Again, so
You are affecting LGBT rights
right,
and
so
abortion rights. You are affecting individuals that can't always speak for themselves.
Got it. So again, I think we have gone through this plenty of times. I want to get to the next question.
Okay.
But maybe we can get to some.
I'll burn it.
You'll burn it. Okay. Maybe we can get to some approximation of an agreement. Can we agree?
No.
Oh. Can we agree on? I will pray for you this Holy Week. Thank you for your time.
Please don't ever pray for me.
Again, I think he gets lucky with these people because they don't have any real intellectual responses, which of course it just becomes, I believe in something you don't, so follow what I say. And he's kind of in the same exact boat, do what I say. But she didn't rebut there. She should have rebutted that what he wants is his viewpoint and no one else's. And what she wants is his viewpoint to never exist. He wants her viewpoint never to exist because he believes she's a murderer and she believes that he will cause death, which is when someone gives birth, they could die. When someone gives birth, they could maybe not even be able to create a child they can take care of and ruin their future life, which is the trajectory of their adulthood because someone still developing, like he said earlier, could have been reiterated because you still have time to develop. You, from the age of 20 or 30, whenever you have that child, still have another 30, 40 years beyond you, maybe even more. And if you don't actually reach your goals, like finishing your degree, finishing the amount of money you're saving to buy a house, then you're not going to be in the position to take care of that child. And then the extra expenses is going to prevent you from ever succeeding, becoming a millionaire, becoming a business owner, becoming someone who can change the world through your inspirational speeches. It can rob you of your future altogether. So you never know where a person could end up once they add an equation that some people call a burden and other people call a blessing. And that's the difference between an additive and a subtractive numerical next to a coefficient of the equation of prosperity to see if someone is added to your life, would add better to it or subtract from it to turn your life upside down, which is why some people always support having children because they're in a position to always have those children. They're always going to be in the position to say, why not? Another person who would always be in the why not perspective would go, oh, hell no, because they don't have the money or resources to do so. Though every abortion brings them pain and suffering, they still understand that if they had money, they would have saved every single pregnancy. They wouldn't even have cared if there was a man involved. They would have said, oh, who cares? I would have raised them on my own. They get robbed of their entire future or the entire independency based on the expenditure of that money, which is something a lot of leftists look into because a lot of these money aren't being told to encourage abortion, or rather encouraging people with childcare, encouraging people with housing, with healthcare, so that if you are an independent woman, you aren't just burdened with a child by yourself, but rather we can help assist as a society and as a government so that you can be an independent woman to be in the same boat as a right winger without being on the right wing and being a more socialist ideology or what I call communism, because a lot of people would understand that the government should help you raise that child. A lot more Republicans or conservative right wingers would oftentimes see this as something as your duty, and they believe in like superhumans, like the Ubermensch. You should just always be so good at everything you do and such a hard worker that you're pretty much always a millionaire. And that becoming a millionaire isn't that hard, so what is the issue? Which is an outlandish fantasy perspective coming from a white privilege, which I know a lot of people don't like that term. So let's change it to just a privileged rich person's perspective. And that perspective, of course, gives them the idea, why don't you just raise the kid? It's not that big of a deal. Where a lot of people on the left will try and lose their entire future, career, education, and even respect from other people in their tribe, which tribe will be community, that a lot of them will look down on them. So again, there's a lot of things that you got to consider when you look at the equation of a human being.
All right. Very lively campus here at Boise State. Oh, I gotta love it. It's good stuff. Disagreements can go to the front of the line, or whomever wants. Yeah, anyone? We got some other?
Hi, Charlie. Nice to meet you. I'm Tyler Feely. I got the most anticipated question of the evening today. Do you think Ashton Genty was robbed of the Heisman?
Yes. Yes. Travis Hunter did not deserve the Heisman. It's true. I just speak the truth.
Yes.
I just speak the truth.
Hey, love you, Charlie. Can I get a MAGA hat,
Yes,
please?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, bro.
All right, who's up?
How's it going, Chuck? Good to see you. Long-time fan, really huge fan, massive fan.
You want to say it one more time?
Big fan of you, Chuck. I know we all are. I had one question for you. I was wondering if you would stack donuts on it and how many you could do.
Scared of the mic?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours.
They wait in line for just the vulgarity. Again, Exhibit C of why we won.
Okay. How you
Again,
doing?
this is why no one should give money to Boise State. They're just producing these garbage social left-wing activists. Just ridiculous.
How you doing, Charlie? I'm Dylan. Nice to meet you. I'm a proud Catholic, Hispanic American, and former Turning Point U.S. member at Utah Tech. I agree with you on a lot of topics like the Second Amendment, traditional values, and standing up to stuff like white liberal ideology and their agenda. But
Let me
one
guess,
of the
you're going to disagree on Israel.
no, economics specifically.
okay.
I recently went to the Bernie Sanders rally. Even I know you guys don't like
It's
him.
fine,
I
don't
didn't
boo him.
fit.
It's
I
fine,
didn't
it's
fit
fine.
into the
It's
crowd,
fine.
but I agree with him when it comes to economics. I don't support any of his social stuff, but what he said about the rural working class hit home. In rural Idaho and other parts of America I've lived in, people are drowning in medical debt, working 2 jobs, falling behind when billionaires keep winning. You say universal health care is socialism, but countries like Poland, Hungary, Croatia are socially conservative, pro-family, pro-border, and still manage to support their people with health care and better wages. So how do you defend American economic system that leaves behind working class conservative people for this movement you claim to fight for?
Fine. Great question. So, in Idaho, would you say that you guys have some native reservations in Idaho, right?
Yes.
Or would you say that they have great health care?
No.
They have universal health care, paid
Actually,
for by the taxpayer. Do you think the VA is a good model for how health care should work?
no.
That is universal. Think about it. The VA is government doctors, paid for by taxpayers. Any veteran can go. The VA is the least favorable health care in the entire country, and it is universal health care. So you need to tell me why you think we should have more of Native American reservation health care and more VA health care, because that's what Bernie Sanders wants. So make your case.
I basically just want universal health care.
No, the VA. So don't interrupt him, please. Like, you want more health care like the VA. It doesn't work. There are waiting lines. The quality of care is very low. The complaints are through the roof. Bernie Sanders wants our entire healthcare system look like the VA. Defend it.
I'm just saying that I'm not asking for like I know UK and Canada have super long lines in their healthcare system, universal.
No,
healthcare
it's not even abstract. I'm talking about the VA is a real American example. It's not about the Canada. It's not about the UK.
I think it should be reformed.
No, forget the reform. The VA has hundreds of billions of dollars of funding. It's taxpayer funded. The veteran pays nothing. They go there and it's all paid for. That's what Bernie Sanders wants, and it's largely a catastrophe. So show me and tell the American people why we should do more of that.
I think we should have a new system, though.
Okay, but it's not a new system. Bernie Sanders wants the VA for everybody. I want you to know what you're advocating for when you say that you want Bernie Sanders health care. You want the VA. Okay? Here's what we want. We want, of course, more competition, price vouchers, want the hospital lobby put on defense. But honestly, we want to be able for you guys to choose the doctor of your choosing, to be able to say, you know what? I don't want to have to take 6 vaccines when I walk into this doctor. I want medical freedom. Where in the VA or in a government-run hospital, you must take those vaccines. There are no exceptions.
I do believe in some type of privatized healthcare, but I
Well,
think
then you don't believe what Bernie believes.
The government should support that.
Well, hold on.
So more affordable people can afford
By the government, you mean the taxpayer. So then,
Yes.
therefore, you mean higher taxes for working people. Because every time socialism is tried, every time it is taxes on more working people. He might say it's more taxes on billionaires. He might say it's more tax on the rich. It's everyday carpenters, welders, police officers, and people that work with their hands that end up paying more in taxes.
I'm starting to be a CNC manufacturer.
Great, and Bernie Sanders will raise your taxes. That's the fact. And you know what Donald Trump is fighting for right now? And Bernie Sanders doesn't have the courage to vote for it? No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. So let's talk about you. No tax on overtime. What would that mean for your specific industry? A big, big, big income boost for your family. Massive, in fact. Yet Bernie Sanders won't even vote for the Trump tax bill that will have no tax on overtime.
And the no tax on tips does sound good because I do also work as a bartender at a
So
restaurant.
let me ask you a question. Hold on, I got to put you on defense here. Last night at the Bernie Sanders rally, 12,000 people. Did Bernie Sanders say once that we should have no tax on tips?
No, I haven't heard that.
Well, because he doesn't care for the working man. He cares about hating the rich. It's not about helping the poor. It's about smashing successful people, which is against everything we as Americans stand for. It is about, we're going to fight the oligarchy by 2 people that have never built a business or signed the front of a paycheck in their entire life, AOC and Bernie Sanders. It's so easy to say, we're going to tax the rich. We're going to hate the rich person. Yet who are the people that have the businesses, deploy the capital? Both can be equally true. Where the middle class grows and we respect capital flows. What Bernie Sanders wants and what he exhibits is a philosophy built on greed and envy and forced wealth redistribution.
Yep, and the last question I was asked about is abortion. I have my own unique stance on it. I personally think only biological women should vote on abortion ballots.
Yes.
Biological women.
Yeah, we would still get crushed, but no, I don't
But
think
if they majority vote for a complete total abortion ban, even if it's against rape, incest, or life of the mother, I would allow that. I'll be fine with that.
Okay, I disagree. I mean, first of all, the baby is half the man's as well. Let's remember that fathers have rights that are forgotten in the abortion argument. Secondly, it's a public
But us
policy
getting involved
debate.
makes us look like we are the stuff that they say about toxic masculinity.
Who
That
cares
gives them
how it
excuses
looks?
to make us look like that.
Who cares how it looks? We care about how things are and how it is. And to have like sex-segregated ballot measures, I think is honestly really repulsive and offensive to what it means to live in a democratic constitutional republic, small d democratic. Saying like only women can vote on abortion matters. That's like saying only men can vote on whether or not we should bring back the male-only draft. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Yeah, but that's just how I feel as someone who has abortion. And I'm pro-life and a Catholic.
Okay,
But that's just
great.
how I feel.
But I want you, and you came here in good faith, I want you to understand and study deeper how sinister Bernie Sanders' economic philosophy is. He panders to people that quite honestly are suffering economically and promises them free stuff and that we're going to take away all the wealth from the rich people. It's not that simple and it's not that easy. And every time his philosophy is tried, it results in the degradation of a society, the downfall of innovation, the entrance into the second or the third world, and sometimes even outright murder in concentration camps and over 100 million people dead. Again, I have to get back to this. Who would you rather trust to design a prosperous economy?
How do you know Donald Trump and Elon Musk are not just keeping money for themselves?
but
They're
hold
both
on.
billionaires too.
But like,
I'm just saying.
See, but hold on. Let me ask you a very blunt question. Have you ever met a billionaire?
No, I
Well,
haven't.
hold on. How do you know how they think then? No, you've never met a billionaire. How do you know what they do?
Bro,
You don't.
There's a
because
history of Donald Trump
hold
being
on,
a
no, forgot the
businessman,
history.
man. He wants to run
hold
this
on, this is
country
an
like a
important thing.
business.
It's easy to hate that which you don't know. It's easy to crap on those that you actually not talk to. Because that billionaire, let's take Albersitz, for example, that named your stadium. Albertsons employs tens of thousands of people in the state, and good on them for doing it, to make sure that you guys can get the groceries you need to feed your family. But guess what? He became a billionaire because of it. But you know what? He should become a billionaire for the people he employs and the risks that he took, and also the good that that has done for this city and the charity that's been back to the community here.
Let me talk to Donald Trump personally to see if you're correct or not.
You said billionaires. Again, I could go through Trump or Elon Musk, but how about the other? You have Melaleuca that's also that named the stadium. You go after billionaire after billionaire. You know what you find? Someone that had a really good idea that was able to risk it all, that probably employed over 100,000 people and made a lot of other people rich. The question should never be, how do we take money away from people? That's easy. That's theft. You do that when you're 3 years old. The question that society has to answer instead is, how do you create wealth? That is a much harder question. When you go visit sub-Saharan Africa, they're trying to figure that out. They wonder why we're able to have buildings as beautiful as this, and why we're able to have, the standard of living that we enjoy in America. And the answer is because we have market principles where entrepreneurs can take risks and are able to get a reward at the end of it. Now, should we ever get to a place where the middle class is shrinking to such a great degree? No, that's why Donald Trump's agenda is to first and foremost rebuild the American middle class, not necessarily pander to the elite interests. And let me close with this, just as a point.